This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There we go. All right. How you feeling, my man? You feeling good?
I'm good. Not in New York, so the background's going to keep changing for the next few weeks as I move around. But it's good. Getting a little summertime in before Sports Illustrated owns me to no end until next May. So get a little relaxation for camp.
Okay, you'll be traveling a lot?
Yeah, so I drove out to New York with my oldest daughter, who's 5. I drove out on Saturday. So it's a nice 13-hour trip. Made it out here. And we'll be mostly here for the next month. I'll spend a week up in Connecticut. But yeah, it's East Coast time until training camp. Then that's it. Then it's all football all the way till about May 1st.
I'm sure you heard and you've experienced in the past, Tyreek Hill apparently had some kind of a run-in with someone at a charter company employee. Now, the guy's not suing and the guy's not pressing charges, so I don't think much is going to come from this. But he has had his share of stuff from Oklahoma State, and even when he was in a Chiefs uniform.
Yes, I mean, look, his history. I'm sure most people are extremely aware of it, but he had to transfer out of Oklahoma State to West Alabama. He had a situation at Oklahoma State which involved he and at the time his pregnant girlfriend, and there was an allegation that he struck his pregnant girlfriend, and he eventually pleaded that out. And so he went to West Alabama, became a 5th-round pick in Kansas City. And with the Chiefs, it was right before the 2019 season. In fact, it was like days before the draft, maybe even the day before the draft, where allegations came out that he harmed his 3-year-old son or 3-year-old son at the time. Nothing ever came of that legally. There was an investigation into it. Nothing came of it. He was not suspended for it. But that was a big reason that the Chiefs at the time drafted McCole Hardman, because there was a thought that, well, who knows what's going to happen. There were a lot of people who thought that he would never play in a Chiefs uniform after those allegations came out. Of course, it ended up not being the case. He ended up playing 3 more years there, and they won the ensuing Super Bowl. As far as this allegation, you teed it up well. TMZ Sports reported last night. Look, we're going to have to wait and see how everything plays out. But it's one of those things where you look at it and say, why? Like, why even be in the situation? Now, maybe nothing comes of it, as you point out, and it very well could be the case. But, yeah, it's unfortunate that Tyreek Hill is back in the headlines in a way that people are going to look and go, well, what happened here? And I'm sure that'll be the reaction by most.
Yeah, and in the end, I think what people are going to say is, even if he's not found guilty here and he hasn't been found guilty in the other one and in the other one, and then you're like, there's a lot of smoke. Where's the fire? You know what I mean? And so, sometimes it can be a coincidence, and then sometimes maybe it's not a coincidence anymore. And that's kind of what I think people will be thinking about with Tyreek Hill in this situation.
Well, and that's, look, I think realistically, that's going to be the thing that people look at and say, again, what happened in this situation? Is Tyreek Hill completely innocent? Is there more to this story? Because again, so look, I pulled it up to be completely accurate. So in December 2014, Hill was arrested for domestic assault and battery. It's a felony charge. Okay, he was accused of punching and choking his pregnant girlfriend at the time, and Hill was dismissed from the school the following day. He did then, in the following year, in August, plead guilty to domestic abuse. And as part of the plea agreement, 3 years probation, 52-week batterer intervention course, and 2 years of supervision. So now, as heinous and as awful as that is the last time that he has been, to my knowledge, I think to anybody's knowledge, convicted of a crime, pled guilty to a crime. You wonder with the NFL if they will look into this stronger because of the history. Now, to be fair, again, in 2019, there were allegations of him harming his 3-year-old son, and there was no suspension. So unless more comes of this, I mean, if charges end up being dismissed or something, I can't imagine that the NFL would take action. And obviously, we're going to have to see how this all plays out. But yeah, it's not. Look, if you're the Dolphins, this isn't exactly the story you were hoping for a month out of camp.
No, this is why they want to keep people in mini camps and passing camps and OTAs and training camp. And this 6-week period here is
dangerous
the period.
Times.
Every coach, assistant coach, front office executive, and owner, they're in churches and synagogues all over the country praying during these 6 weeks.
It's
because
true.
They're just hoping that this time off won't have a Patriot player saying, I can't carry 2 guns in the plane. These are the things that they're worried about, and so it's almost like we can't give grown-ass men time on their hands.
It's a Jack Jones thing. I mean, to bring up the New England portion of the offseason, like Jack Jones had just admonished John Morant on Twitter about guns and everything. And then like the guy's got 2 guns at an airport. Which, by
the way, I never understand that one.
No, neither do I.
I forgot about it. I didn't know they were in there. Really, dude? Like you didn't pack your bag? You didn't check your bag? You're like, come on.
And like if you didn't pack your bag, who the hell's packing your bag and putting in 2 firearms? Like who is this person? You know what? Look, I have long
an ex-wife.
This is always the most dangerous time of the year for NFL teams because during the season, guys are largely like, look, they're in season mode. If they're not, most guys, if they're serious about their craft, they're not going out. Maybe they're going out for a dinner on a Saturday night before a game on the road, but like that's it. Like they're going back. They got a curfew.
Only the knuckleheads push the envelope.
This is the time of year where the weather is good all over the country, and everybody's out and about. You always run that risk. Look, GMs have their phone on full blast 24 hours a day because you never know. And like this is like with Jack Jones, he's facing 30 years of prison. Like that's a real thing. That's not like, oh, it's some slap on the wrist misdemeanor. Like we're talking 2 major felonies here. Like whether he gets off or not, I don't know. But like this is going to be this is a real problem. Like he could be. This is a Plaxico Burress level. Like you brought your gun where you shouldn't, and of course in Burress's case it went off and he shot himself in the leg. Okay, but thankfully the guns did not go off with Jack Jones. But this is real. This is something you look at and go like Jack Jones. Football is the least of his problems at the moment.
Yeah.
It's just
this is why we actually do need like real laws for guns. Like you should be maybe put through a course. You should probably obviously have a background check and all these guys. See, that way, if you're Plaxico Burress, you'll learn about a safety. You'll learn about a holster. You'll learn about several things that could actually stop you from actually shooting yourself. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, these are the things that it should be a privilege, not a right to own a gun because we have too many stupid people in this world like Plaxico Burress and Jack Jones that are going to just hurt themselves or somebody else because they're just plain stupid. They're not criminals. They're just plain stupid.
There's a comedian that I enjoy, Jim Jeffries, and he does a whole skit on gun control. Whether you agree or disagree, it's funny as hell. But he then gets into how we have to walk as like the slowest person in society walks. Like he's like we have to walk at their pace essentially, and he talks about how like this is why we have speed limits. This is why we had to ban drugs because like some people, obviously he's kidding. It's a comedy routine. But he's like, some people can do drugs and they're fine. Then other people do drugs and they commit 17 crimes. And like now we can't do, and he goes through. But the point of it actually, even though is accurate in the sense like when we as a society think about how we want to live, we need to think about, okay, maybe you are intelligent enough not to do something that's going to cause a major, major problem for yourself or somebody else. But there are other people who are not. And so you have to consider this. And with Plaxico Burress, I've never met Plaxico Burress, but like to use that as an example, the man may be very intelligent. He made a very unintelligent choice that evening by putting a gun that was loaded in sweatpants. And the gun then went on. And you say to yourself, how does that happen? Like, how does somebody walk out the door thinking this is fine? But it does. And then with Jack Jones, I mean, how do you go to an airport with 2 guns? How does that happen? But again, it does. And now he's facing really like a life-altering situation right now up in Massachusetts.
Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be running backs. I mean, Josh Jacobs now can't get a deal. Saquon Barkley, apparently they're starting to talk again. Aaron Jones had to take a pay cut. Dalvin Cook thinks that big money's out there waiting for him and that somebody's going to give him a 20 carry a game job, which, again, you're not going to get that at this point. And by the way, with Josh Jacobs, I don't know if you saw this. You saw the tweet. Yesterday, he put out a tweet. Right, exactly. And it's just a pretty simple tweet. Whoa, what happened here? Let me go back. Here we go. Okay, just simple tweet.
Bad business.
It says bad business. That's it right there. Bad business. And so you look at all of this, and this is why I told people constantly that were telling me about Josh Jacobs. And I told them 2 months ago, I said, Dolphins aren't trading for him, and Dolphins will not be giving him big money. And people were convinced that the Dolphins were going to trade for him. People were convinced that once they release him, the Dolphins would pounce on him right away. Well, guess what? Nobody's pounced on him.
No.
Nobody's offering him anything. We're seeing all the issues going on with Josh Jacobs and everybody else. I wonder, how much is this going to hurt the running back position in the future? Because eventually people are going to be looking around going, wow, man, this running back position is not very respected. In fact, you will not get a second contract if you're a running back 95% of the time now.
I honestly feel bad for Josh Jacobs in the sense he had a phenomenal year. And at any other position in the league, he would be paid accordingly. He would be paid as the highest, slotted player at his position. The problem is he is a running back. And frankly, it's probably smart business not to pay him. It probably is. Like, realistically speaking, how many running backs over the last 15 years would you say that guy got a second contract, played it out, and was worth the money? Derrick Henry comes to mind.
That's it.
That's pretty much the whole list, right? I mean, maybe
all the other ones have failed, dude.
Yeah,
the other ones, the Zeke Elliott's failed.
Yes.
The Georgia kid that was with the Rams, and then
Todd Gurley was a disastrous contract.
That was a disaster of a contract. Leonard Fournette was a disaster of a contract.
Yes. If you want to go back to Adrian Peterson and say, okay, I mean, but you're talking like literally
long time.
Like 2 in the last 20 years. Like, it's not a good bet. It's a bad bet. And so, look, if you're Saquon Barkley, if you're Josh Jacobs, I get it. You're pissed. You want to get paid 100%. But if you're one of these teams, you're probably smart not to pay him. I mean, if you look around the league, let's be real. Most of these teams have multiple backs who they use, and they're fine with it. I mean, if you look at the Eagles, just let Miles Sanders go. And guess what? They've got Kenneth Gainwell, and they brought in Rashad Penny, and they brought in DeAndre Swift. And they're going to give, between those guys, Gainwell probably gets 100 carries. The other 2 guys got like 200 carries apiece. They'll run for 5 yards a carry behind that line, and they'll be fine. Very rare is it the running back who truly is, even without great blocking, just a transcendent player.
The Chiefs, dude, they went and got a 7th rounder,
right,
and they were
just and Jerick McKinnon. And they're fine. They don't care. McKinnon scored 10 touchdowns last year, and Pacheco ran for 900 yards basically in half of the season. And they were fine with it. I think look, right now in the NFL, I'll go on record with this. I think the Bijan Robinson pick, I think Robinson's a really talented player. I think the Falcons were nuts for taking him in the top 10. It's not because I don't love the guy's talent. You have Algier, who's a rookie, who just ran for 1,000 yards. Like, you don't need a running. And if I have to listen to one more person say, well, they're going to use Robinson as a weapon all over the field, that's great until he lines up against a corner. Then what? Like, he's not running a 9 route against a corner. That's not going to happen. Like, so I think sometimes, and the Lions with Jahmyr Gibbs, same thing. Like, if I'm a team, I'm not drafting a running back till the 3rd, 4th round. There's just no reason. Unless the guy coming out, you're just like, look, that guy's Reggie Bush in college. Okay, fine.
Right.
I'll hear that. I'll hear that argument. All the rest of these, like Ricky Williams when he was at Texas, where he's just unbelievable. Unless you're that level of a guy, I just don't see the argument for it. I really don't.
It really is amazing how disrespected, that position is at this point. So I've been telling the Dolphin Nation, obviously what's gone on has been right on target. They were never going to do it. But I've also now followed up with, I think he ends up here because he already knows what Miami's offering. And it's a team-friendly deal. That's what they were going to offer because it's a luxury selection and addition at this point for them. That's the way they look at it. But I think he's going to find out that there aren't going to be any great offers, and he's going to have a couple of decent offers that are just a little bit more than Miami, but they're going to come from bad teams, I think. And he's going to say, you know what? I'll go to a no-tax state. I'll go to my hometown, sign a 1-year deal, have a chance to win, and then I'll hit the market again next year and look for it. Because I believe as time goes on, Miami becomes sexier to him because he finds out he doesn't have any options. And by the way, there's a whole bunch of other backs that are on the brink of. Aaron Jones took a massive pay cut. The next thing is to cut him. Josh Jacobs, they're giving him trouble. The next thing is to cut him. Saquon Barkley, I don't even know if they do end up giving him a big long-term contract, being injury prone. Other backs are about to hit the streets in the next year or two here because of all this mess, going on.
Yeah,
so I just don't think teams are ever in a hurry. Kareem Hunt is a decent back. Nobody signs him, dude. Nobody's interested except the Commanders. That's not the place you want to go if you're any kind of player, And that's so true. To me, it really is amazing how devalued they have become.
Kareem Hunt won a rushing title as a rookie in Kansas City. And then midway through 2018, and by the way, he was having an unbelievable year, got released because, video came out of him kicking a woman in a Cleveland hotel. And the Chiefs very famously, at least around Kansas City, said, well, essentially we're cutting him because you lied to us. I don't know if they really cut him over the act. They cut him because he lied about striking the woman. But since he's gone to Cleveland, his yards per carry, 4.2, 4.2, 4.9 last year, 3.8. I mean, he's a very good running back. Yeah. And he's in the prime of his career, 27 years old, I believe.
Fresh.
Can't get a sniff.
Fresh.
Yeah. I mean, not a guy who's had 400 carries a bunch of years, right? I mean, can't get a sniff. And it's interesting. I mean, your point with Cook, like if I'm him and I'm looking at the Dolphins, I'd sit there and say, you know what? Having Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson and Najee, like not the worst thing in the world for me because I can go in there and have 200 carries instead of 300 carries, and I can get a rest. And the other thing is, like, Denver's been one of the teams that's been heavily talked about here with Cook. I don't get the fit there. You have Javonte Williams, who is a lead back. Now, I know he's coming off an injury. I get it. But they also signed Samaje Perine. And Samaje Perine's like a real number 2 back. He's a good player. Okay. If you're Cook, Williams, when healthy, and Perine, to me, is a bigger threat to like really taking away a lot of carries than Mostert, who's a guy who's very talented, but is a guy who I don't think you want to give 250 carries to. You want to keep him, to use your word, fresh. Yeah, I think, and Miami's better than Denver. Like, if you want to go somewhere and win, Miami makes the most sense. And if I'm the Dolphins, I will say I'd be very interested from this standpoint. I'm doing everything to keep Tua on the field this year. Everything. And if that means in some games where you're trying to salt away a lead, literally not having him throw the ball more than like a throw here, a throw there, that's fine all day. I'd be more than happy to just give Cook the ball and say, here, man, you run out the fourth quarter. Happily ever after. Don't get hurt.
Yeah, I'm with you there. By the way, is Hard Knocks going to get a team? Because only Washington wants to do it. Nobody else wants to do it. And I know that they're talking about Washington as a mid-season type of thing because they want to stay away from the Daniel Snyder mess until he sells. Right. So who the hell is going to take this, bro?
So there's rules with this. It's like you have to be a team that didn't make the playoffs, and you have to be a team that doesn't have a new head coach, I believe. I think that's the rule or something like that. I mean, based on that, look, first of all, forever and always, I'm all about the Raiders. Like, just put the Raiders on it. It's fine. Give me Mark Davis and give me Josh McDaniels and give me Jimmy Garoppolo, like maybe or maybe not practicing all summer. I don't care.
The Lions would have been interesting again. I know they turned it down.
They just did them, yeah.
Dan Campbell is made for that shit, dude.
Yeah, he doesn't care. I think, I mean, the Rams would be interesting from the standpoint after that disaster of a season last year. Like, what's that look like? Yeah, you're right. I mean, Denver would be amazing, but because Payton's a first-year coach, he's not going to do it. God, Denver would be unbelievable.
And he doesn't. And Payton's not the kind of guy that wants that shit around.
No, he doesn't. I mean? He doesn't.
I just read where Kareem Jackson's like, man, we're doing things I've never seen before in my life, like that. So
I would pay real money to watch Sean Payton and Russell Wilson interact behind closed doors. Yeah. Because it's one thing when you're at a press conference and it's like, yeah, I love this guy and this guy's great. And then it's a whole nother deal when Sean Payton opens up Twitter and sees Russell Wilson sliding on one of those boards, catching a football. And then, like, we get a Broncos country and let's ride in a late July. If you know anything about Sean Payton, I don't imagine that, like, all that, like, the brand forward stuff that Russell Wilson does, I don't think that's going to fly with Sean Payton. Sean Payton comes from the Bill Parcells school. That's who he came up under as a coach. He worked in Dallas under Parcells. Like, that is going to be fascinating because if you think about it, Wilson has played for nothing but players coaches his whole career, right? I mean, he had Pete Carroll, who's the ultimate players coach, and then he had Nathaniel Hackett, who was sort of a coach. Now you go to Payton, who is chewing gum and screaming at like OTAs. What is that going to be like? And that is of all the relationships in the league this year, that one fascinates me the most.
Yeah, no, that one's, well, I mean, because we're all also it's a do or die situation, for Russell Wilson here because he's got to revive his career because clearly Payton has the power to say, yeah, no, you're not the guy. We're moving away from you, and you're out of here. So they've given him that kind of power. He's not going to be forced to coach him for several years. So this has to work this year, and so the pressure is really on Russell Wilson, not as much on Sean Payton. It's really more on Russell Wilson to prove that last year was an aberration and that, what do you think? Do you think it's over for Russell Wilson, or do you think that Payton revives his career?
I think that he will be better, but I do not think he's ever going to be what he was in Seattle. I mean, at this point, he's 35 years old. And like we both know, not too many guys start to go downhill and then all of a sudden they're just better, like just wildly better again. Do I think he's better than he was last season? He was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league last season. I have to imagine he's better than that. I have to think that he's maybe league average, but I don't think all of a sudden this is going to be back to where, hey, he's leading them into a conference title game. Like, I don't see it. And to your point about the pressure, there's no doubt there's more pressure on Russell Wilson. Like, Sean Payton's the guy now in Denver. Forget the GM, forget everybody other than the owner. Nobody's got more pull than Sean Payton. They just gave him a fortune to come there. And if you look at Russell Wilson's contract, all right, so this year's cap number is $22 million. Next year it jumps up to $35.4. And then after that, it's $55.4, $58.4, $53.4, $54.4 when he's 40 years old. Now, if Denver let's just say he's awful this year. Okay, let's say it's a repeat of last season. If they cut him, it would have to be post June 1st. Here's how much money they would save. $0. Okay? So now you get into the following year after not this upcoming, but the next season, they could cut him and they'd still need $18.4 million, but they would save 37. So like they could realistically cut him post June 1. The point is, this contract, like if he's not markedly better, this might be the worst contract in NFL history.
Oh, yeah,
he's not even on his extension yet. Like people hear the 5 year, they're like, oh, so he's got 4 years left. No. He had 2 years left on his current deal before he went to Denver. His extension doesn't start until next season. I mean, it is one of the worst deals in league history if Russell Wilson's not miles better than he's been.
What do you say to the people that think that Sean Payton also is kind of overrated because he had 7 losing seasons with a guy like Drew Brees?
I think that he is a good head coach. I don't think he's on the level of Tomlin and Reed and Belichick because especially like Belichick won most of his years with Brady, but like Tomlin's won some years. Like Roethlisberger was great, but Roethlisberger also some years at the end where he couldn't play anymore. And like they were still going to the playoffs. They almost made the playoffs last year with Kenny Pickett, who was not playing particularly well. Andy Reid now is home.
Didn't they almost make it the year before with the Duckster?
Yes, with Duck Hodges, yes. I mean, Mike Tomlin to me is the most underrated coach of the last 25 years. But if you look at like Andy Reid, now he has Mahomes now, but he won a ton with guys in Philly who was like, like Kevin Cobb, and he'd go to the playoffs. I don't like with Payton, those defenses were awful. And God knows he's not a defensive coach. He's an offensive coach. But to miss the playoffs 7 times with Drew Brees is not great. I do think he's a good coach. And I think offensively, he's a brilliant coach. But they're going to need Vance Joseph, who's the defensive coordinator, to really run that side of things. And I think that's one of the more underappreciated storylines this offseason. Evero did a great job as their coordinator last year in Denver. I mean, that team couldn't score a point. And the defense was the only thing keeping them respectable in a lot of these games. Now Evero goes to Carolina, and you bring in Vance Joseph. And I like Vance Joseph, but here's the problem. He plays a single high safety look, and he blitzes like crazy. And in that conference, with all these elite quarterbacks, good luck playing single high and blitzing like crazy. That is going to be a recipe for getting torched down the field. So I think Vance Joseph, he's going to have to do a great job, or Denver's going to be sitting there going, yeah, we're better because Payton will fix the offense, but we're still a 6 or 7 win team.
All right, man. I am, Bitcoin's about to hit 30,000 again. Climbing back, baby.
There you go. It's good news for
you.
you.
Huh?
It's good news for you. It's good news.
It's great news for me. It's absolutely great news to watch the entire freaking crypto market has absolutely exploded, dude. Holy shit. Still not into crypto yet, huh?
No, I'm not. Maybe I'll regret it. Maybe I won't. But I have a financial advisor. And I asked him once, what would you do? He's like, I don't know. I don't trust him. I'm like, all right, that's fine.
Yeah, no. If you don't know anything about it, you're going to be completely, definitely intimidated by it, and you're going to want to stay away from it. That's how most of the world is for now. For now, in the next year or two, everybody will be singing a completely different tune, and they'll all be working the blockchain and Web3 and crypto and Bitcoin.
I thought it all crashed like a year ago.
No.
Everything. Again, I will openly admit I know nothing about Bitcoin. So.
Everything crashes, and then it bounces back. And it went down to 16.5, and it's about to hit 30 again. And all the people say, oh, but it went to 67. And then I always turn to them and say, what asset in the world goes from 8,000 to 67,000 and then stays there? That's never happened. It doesn't happen. And the problem was it went to 67,000. I try to explain to people it's because guess what happened at that moment? The pandemic hit. Everything started, all kinds of shit hit the fan. You know what people went to? They went to Bitcoin because they thought we were going to go into a recession and all that stuff. And instead, what the government do? They printed money and gave everybody money. So then they pulled back out. So then they pulled back out again. Right. They pulled
a huge left turn. Is there?
And so now you're watching it grow back from 16. Now it's getting back to 30. Why? Because we're watching governments all over the world, and their monies are crumbling and crushing. And so now you're watching Colombia and Argentina and Brazil and El Salvador and all these countries and Ukraine and everybody that's having financial issues because their dollars are worth nothing. They're now starting to use Bitcoin. And that's what's happening now all of a sudden. It's the rest of the world is getting ahead of us on the crypto Web3 blockchain game. And so now that's what you're seeing. But eventually, I don't know if you follow the news, but in the last last week, it's BlackRock, it's Fidelity, it's all the big financial institutions are all opening up Bitcoin FTD, or what is it called?
I've got Fidelity and Morgan Stanley, the old money managers. So I might have to check that out. My question to you,
with money, the people with the trillions, BlackRock has 11 trillion that they manage, and they own Goldman Sachs. Yeah. Okay, so they if they're getting Bitcoin now, what do you think? Well,
it'd be more legitimized, mainstream.
Exactly, because it hasn't been regulated completely yet. So once it gets regulated, all these people and institutions are just going to FOMO in, and it's going to explode, and it'll go to catastrophic numbers. You'll see.
I'll leave it at this for you, but I'll ask you.
Mark my words. Remember, I'm the same guy that told everybody go buy season tickets for the for InterMiamiCF. Messi's coming. Go buy them now. I've told them last couple months, go buy them. And in the second half of it, because they weren't selling single game tickets. I don't know if you know that. Inter Miami did not sell second half single game tickets. You can only buy season tickets. And why didn't they sell the single game tickets? Because they knew they didn't allow the jersey 10 and the jersey 5 to be taken. 10 is Messi and 5 is Sergio Busquets. And guess who's coming? Messi and Busquets. And I told everybody that, brother, Moss ain't playing. You know, if Moss would have bought our baseball team, we would have kept some of that outfield. You know, although Ozuna wouldn't have been good to keep, by the way. Now that I think about it. No. Yeah, Yelich, but not Ozuna. But anyway, as I digress on that, Moss will spend, and look what happened. So, I'm just saying, it's coming. It's going to dominate, bro. It's
one of these days.
The internet all over again. It's cell phones all over again. It's the same shit. We're all intimidated. Oh, the internet. I don't know. Oh, email. I don't need email. Really? You don't, huh? Oh, you don't need internet, huh? Oh, okay. What? Yeah. Cell phones. You think it's a joke? Cell phones were such a joke that Bell South or Bell, whatever at that time, whatever it was called in your part of the world in the United States, told them, oh, that's nothing. We're and then the Germans, Motorola, said, oh, no, we'll take it. We'll and boom, that's where the cell phone exploded because the Germans took advantage of it and we didn't. Crypto and Web3 and all that is the same thing as going to space, an airplane, the internet, all of this shit that we said we would never do. Oh, tweet. What's a tweet? Oh, that's a joke. Yeah, it's a joke now, huh? So it's the same shit, dude. We have lived this in many different ways. This is the same thing all over again. So first they deny it. Second, they laugh at you. Third is they're fighting you. What's going on now? They're fighting you. Yeah. Fourth is they join you. Yeah. Fourth is they join you. So we've gone through the first two stages already. Avoided, laughed at. Now they're fighting you, and now they're going to join you. And now they're starting to join.
If you have 50,000 in Bitcoin, can you take that out in real money? Like, can you just be like, all right, I like that.
Yeah,
that's always my question.
I can grab right now 100 off my Bitcoin, convert it to USDC, and dump it right into my bank account.
So what is the conversion? Like, if you had 100 in Bitcoin, like
it's $100.
It's $100. Okay, it's just straight over to
straight up $100.
Okay, that was always my question. It's like.
If you bought a Bitcoin at 16,500, your Bitcoin right now is worth 30,000.
Well, you're right. There's the market movement. Yeah.
Please explain to me what investment in the world on January 1st, you buy at 16,500 and it's at 30,000 right now. Please explain, which one is it? None. It doesn't exist. Gold's been around forever and it's at 2,000. This thing's been around for 14 years and it's at 30,000. I can't explain it more to people. And there's only 21 million. Once they're mined, it's over. This ain't the US dollar where they just keep printing and printing and printing and printing and printing and printing, which what does that? It devalues the hell out of the dollar.
Right. Of course.
And that's what's going on. So, it's all good, bro. What can I tell you, my man? But look into it.
I will.
Get a different financial advisor.
I have a meeting with him like tomorrow. That's why I asked. So that's fine. I will.
When was the last time you asked him about crypto?
2 years ago.
Okay. All right. Dude, he gave you the answer that he should give you at that time. I wonder what he tells you now. Just say Bitcoin and Ethereum. Don't go into any of the other crazy coins and altcoins because then it gets deeper and you really got to know. But Bitcoin and Ethereum are the dogs. So ask him, hey, man, I want to, this Bitcoin Ethereum thing, isn't this the future? See what he says. Okay.
Okay. Well, I've got a meeting, so I've got to ask him anyway. So
yeah, ask him. All right. What do you got going on SI so folks can check you out, my friend?
Next couple of weeks, it's going to be a lot of previews, team previews. I will have the Dolphins one coming out reasonably soon, the next few weeks here. He's
winning the division like I do, by the way.
I haven't won the division. I think they're the best team in the division. And Stephon Diggs' whole situation is not hurting that cause. I think, so we got the previews coming out. Today, a piece came out that's I enjoyed writing. It was the 10 defensive players who are going to or who could define the upcoming season. I thought that was fun. It's kind of an interesting look at it. And I think when you really look, like there are some guys around the league that you look at and go, you know what? Maybe not the biggest name in the world. I will tell you right now, number 6 is the Dolphins. So you can check that out. Got a whole bunch of that stuff coming up. Working on the season preview for the magazine. And lastly, if you don't subscribe to Sports Illustrated in the print version, go to your local store mid-July and get the magazine because your boy has 2 bylines in the magazine. And so you need to go get it because it's only going to be you only get it the first time once. This will be the first time in the magazine. So go check it out. A couple stories from Green Bay. I think people will enjoy it.
Support our guy there. So go buy a Sports Illustrated. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Verderame and catch his work there at Sports Illustrated. Matt, as always, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you immensely. We'll catch up next week.
Sounds good. Take care.
You got it, baby. There you go. The great Matt Verderame. Yes, sir.
This is the Big O Show.